time of the year when most on campus would have left already for their vacation, but because of what is going to happen in Hong Kong, and namely on November 6th we would have a very big territory-wide district council election, and as party leader I must go back and lead the party into that election, so I can't spare time to come in September. So that's why we are here at this not very convenient moment. But given that inconvenience, we can still see so many present this afternoon. That certainly is our honor, and we are very happy to see you all here. Perhaps I would let you know that between Dennis and I, we think that at most we would talk for no more than half an hour, so as to leave more time for interaction and dialogue. I personally do not like monologue, so you will bear with us for about the first 30 minutes, and after that the floor will be open. I think the convenient starting point here must be the march by about 200,000 people, as reported by the organizers, on the 1st of July 2011, which was just about 3 weeks ago. This is the largest turnout recorded after the historic march on the 1st of July 2003. Now, what provoked so many Hong Kong people to have taken to the streets on this occasion was that the Hong Kong SAR government wanted to strip us of our right to vote in a by-election in the event any vacancy arises in the legislature of Hong Kong. Now, why is the government trying to bulldoze this bill through from start to their originally intended finish within about 6 weeks? This is really unheard of, unprecedented in Hong Kong, but they wanted to do it without even bogus consultation. Right? Now, this is quite ridiculous, and it was because of the way, the very high-handed manner in which the government was trying to do that, that actually provoked 200,000 people onto the street about 3 weeks ago. As a result of that public demonstration of discontent and disappointment, Donald Tsang, the incumbent chief executive, announced that the government would actually postpone the second and third reading of that bill until after a 2-month consultation had been completed. And only about, I think, 18 hours ago in Hong Kong, the government announced the revised proposals for stripping Hong Kong people of this right to vote in a by-election. So they are not going to give up this idea of doing away with by-elections. Now, why is that? As I had been introduced, last year, 2010, saw what we call in Hong Kong a de facto referendum. Hong Kong, unlike Canada, does not have referendum laws. So when there is highly controversial issues that the legislature cannot deal with or handle by itself, there is no means by which we can have resort to the general public of Hong Kong for an objective and scientific gauging of public opinion, or if you like, a form of direct democracy. And this problem of the functional constituencies pulling the leg of Hong Kong and standing in the way of a fair government, a fair distribution of political power, and also the the resources and the fruits of economic activities. This problem with the functional constituencies has haunted Hong Kong since the 1980s. And the Legislative Council after Council was unable to resolve it. And last year, the government moved a set of proposals in the Legislative Council making provisions for the electoral models for elections of the Chief Executive and also for the election of the Legislative Council for next year, 2012. And in order that this problem with functional constituencies can be resolved once and for all, 5 directly elected geographical constituency legislators, including myself, resigned so as to trigger a by-election in law. But we refer one issue to the people of Hong Kong, namely to abolish the functional constituencies. So we promoted the by-election as a form of what we call de facto referendum. So we asked Hong Kong people to go into the ballot box and cast your vote to say yay or nay for the abolition. Notwithstanding active dissuasion by the Hong Kong SAR government for people coming out to vote, there were still more than 500,000 of people turning up on the 16th of May 2010 and cast their vote. Now what happened, I can bet you anything, sent a shiver down the spine of the leadership in Beijing. And of course, Hong Kong SAR government would also not want to have to be forced to face up to public opinion scientifically and objectively gauged in the form of any de facto referendum to happen in the future. Now, in the next legislative term, the 5th Legislative Council of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, we anticipate there would be at least the following highly politically charged and controversial issues that would come to the Council. Now, firstly, there would be the possibility that Article 23, that is the National Security Bill, would come again to this Council. The National Security Bill was a bill that the Hong Kong SAR was obliged to pass into law by Article 23 of the Basic Law. It asks the Special Administrative Region to pass laws to make criminal acts like treason, sedition, secession, etc. Now, there was an attempt to do that in the year 2002, at the time when I was the chairman of the Hong Kong Bar. And it was also because of this Article 23 saga that I moved step by step into the political arena. In fact, I never before thought that I would want to become a politician at all, in the wildest of my dreams. But anyway, that is history. If you would want to hear more about it, you can ask me questions about it. But this is one piece of legislation that possibly would come our way in the next Legislative Council. Another one that we must deal with would be the making of electoral laws to provide for the election of the Legislative Council in 2016, and also for the formation of this nomination committee as provided for by Article 45 of the Basic Law for the election of our Chief Executive for 2017. Now these would be very highly politically charged. These will be controversial issues which the Hong Kong SAR government may want to try its hand on bulldozing them through without proper consultation. Now, and that really fills you in as to the possible reason why the government would want to do it in such a high-handed manner in passing this law about the replacement mechanism, trying to do away with by-election in Hong Kong, because they do not want any legislator to resign when any one of those controversial issues is coming to the Legislative Council, and for another resignation to take place, by which we want to resort to the means of direct democracy, returning to the people their right to be consulted. All right, so that is really an update, the latest from Hong Kong. Air fresh from Hong Kong. Now, I promised to keep my introduction short, so I'm winding that up. If you care to think back on political development in Hong Kong, we started our fight for democracy in the 1980s. And in the Basic Law, we are promised universal suffrage for both the election of the Chief Executive and the election of the Legislature. They are respectively Articles 45 and 68 of the Basic Law. So this is nothing new. This is a promise enshrined in the Sino-British Joint Declaration and given effect to in the Basic Law. This is nothing new. It is a promise to the Hong Kong people. And, but what we have witnessed was that we went from 12 directly elected members out of a 60-member council in the first Legislative Council to a 20-member directly elected in the second council to a 30-member third Legislative Council in the first 3 election cycles in Hong Kong. But the National People's Congress Standing Committee, by an interpretation of the Basic Law in 2005, actually put a stop to this progression. So in the 4th Legislative Council, in which I'm now serving, which we had expected that for the first time, directly elected geographical constituency members would outnumber the functional constituency members, given the trend I just described to you in the first 3 councils. Did not happen because NPC-SC put a stop to it. When that was done in 2005, people in Hong Kong thought, oh, well, if we are not going to have it in the election cycle of 2007-2008, we would have it in the next election cycle of 2012. But to our disappointment, history repeats itself. In 2007, when NPC Standing Committee again handed down a decision to say that 2012, you would not have direct elections. I mean, you would not have universal suffrage, but you could, I emphasize, you could, but not you must, have the universal suffrage for the Chief Executive in 2017, and possibly in 2020, you would have universal suffrage for the Legislative Council. So this is a very unsatisfactory state of affairs. We do not see Beijing honoring what was enshrined in the Sino-British Joint Declaration. But it is even more frustrating to see that it is because of the deep-seated conflict in Hong Kong, and as a result of the unfair distribution of political powers, that many of public policies in Hong Kong have been very unbalanced. Now, I stop here, and I'll leave the up-and-coming young man of the Civic Party Executive Committee to carry on this monologue for the next 10-15 minutes, and then we'll throw the floor open. Thank you.